So you guys, it's a different world from when I was growing up. And you might be like, oh my God, that's a kind of an old thing to say. But people my age, even a little younger, certainly older, would you not say that times are a little different, And when we were growing up, my two brothers and me, in our neighborhood, we could kind of run free. I don't think that happens much today, right? That you could just go out and just run free. It all depends on different things. And then at supper time, we'd hear the bell ring, and every house had a bell in our neighborhood. And it was like a dead-end street, and you'd fake it with your mother once in a while, like, oh, I thought that was the Lally's bell. We didn't hear the bell, and it never went over well, let me tell you, huh? The shepherd knew the sheep and all the tricks, But anyway, you'd eventually come in, and we'd have to do all kinds of stuff, like, first of all, wash our hands. And then we probably got sent back to the bathroom 3 times because the next line was, now go back and use soap this time. Have you guys ever had this conversation with your parents? Parents, have you ever had this conversation with your kids, And then we'd have to go back. And then, we'd have to set the table and get everything ready and, supper's cooking, all this kind of stuff. Now, my father, I told you, was a barber, right? He cut hair. And he'd come home from the shop, and this sounds like I'm talking from the 1950s, I know, but it was only in the 70s, And then we sat down to eat. And we had this routine in our house that we couldn't answer the phone. And by the way, this is in the day when you had a phone, and it was stuck to the wall. Can you imagine this? What? It's craziness. It had a cord to it. And then remember the big news was when the cord was about this long, if you could really get one of those wicked long cords, you could go into the dining room and talk to your girlfriend in 10th grade, without your brothers listening to you, huh? That was my household. Anyway, so couldn't go to the phone. If our friends came to the door, it was always like, hey, we're eating now, but we'll come out, we'll see you afterwards and stuff like that. Because in my house, the table, having supper, breaking bread, being with the family was wicked important. And it wasn't always easy. Fast forward to today, moms, dads, it's got to be near impossible at times with the crazy schedules, the comings and the goings, the expectations, the being overscheduled to kind of get that time together. I don't know, does it happen in your houses often, once in a while? Never. And I just want to tell you, first of all, as parents, I cannot thank you enough for making the time and putting the effort into coming here around this table week after week. And I know it's not every weekend exactly, but you know what? You're part of this community. You gather at this table. We all get it. It's a crazy busy life. But it's a real testament to you in bringing these guys here and trying to form them in what we believe, especially in all that's been going on in the parent company. It's so easy to check out and say, I don't need this, we don't need this. But it's a testament to you and who you are as the shepherds and your love for your kids and what your faith and spirituality is all about. So I just want to highlight that because it doesn't go unnoticed. It was hard enough to do at times in the 70s. I can only imagine what it's like now with families and kids and table and being together. But when we were little, I also remember that when all my cousins got together, and maybe you guys have some of your cousins here this weekend, like Thanksgiving, when we went up to my grandmother's, Nana had all the adults at one table, but the cousins, at least the most unruly of the 10 of us, 9 of us, were in the other room, and we had the kids' table. But then we eventually got to come to the big table, huh? But we had to be prepared, We had to certainly use manners. We had to be able to listen to the conversation. Then we had to be able to, maybe say something in that conversation, There was some work that went into it. Couldn't just show up and, do nothing. You have to be part of what's going on around the table. And in effect, that's what you guys have been doing all year. With Mr. Mare, Mr. Lippold, Mr. McDonald, as your catechists and teachers, they've been preparing you. But most importantly, who've been the great preparers for you guys, the shepherds? God, yep. And then God gave you some people who brought you into the world or who adopted you. Who are they? Parents, right? Moms and dads, our parents. And they're the ones who who are teaching you so much about what's important. I know yesterday some of you guys had baseball games, and the last place you wanted to be was downstairs practicing for this. I know you had a million other things that were a lot more fun, and yet you made it here. I know there was probably a little parental persuasion going on there, but you made it. And I just want to say I'm glad, because what goes on here is so important. Whether you become a professional baseball player or not, what goes on at this table is key, just like what goes on at our tables at home is key. Jesus says today, my sheep, and we're the sheep, and he's the shepherd, my sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. You know where so much of that took place at our house growing up? Around the table. My father would come home from the barber shop, and he'd say, so what'd you learn today? What's new? He'd always ask, who are you hanging around with? And then he would say, I don't want you hanging on the corner. And I remember thinking to myself, Dad, we live in North Reading. There's no corner, to hang out on. The city never left him, huh? He wanted to know what was going on in our lives, what kind of choices we were making, were we doing the right thing? And then my mother and father also used that time to tell us what was important to them, what their values were. And it all took place around what? The table, right? And food. And my mother was an unbelievable cook. My father was a great cook. It was good. Something happens with food, with table, with family, and friendship. In effect, that's what Mass is. Only we do it in pews. We have little wafers. But Jesus, when you look up in the painting, see the original Leonardo da Vinci painting, that's probably not exactly what it looked like with the disciples, but we get the picture. He was breaking bread with his friends, and he was teaching them and showing them different things. Again, what parents do and what we try to do here. I got to tell you something, and this doesn't feel very Mother's Day-like, and it's not going to feel First Communion-like, but it's reality. Not everybody has the families that you have, that I have, and so many of us have. Trust me. I don't know if any of you came down St. Cecilia Street this morning, dodging those raindrops, but if you did, what did you see on the right-hand side of the street? 3 great big green, anyone? Dumpsters. Filled with all the stuff that the college kids got rid of as they finished up this weekend. At about 12:30 this morning, I hear all this noise and smashing and commotion. I look out, and I see about 12 people. Interesting. I counted them. 12 people at the table of the 3 dumpsters. I would say almost all of those 12 people were homeless. And I don't mean just they didn't have a home and a clean bed and a warm shower and loving parents to be right there with them. I think almost all 12 of them were homeless in here. Do you know what I mean? They weren't at home with themselves. I saw people who were homeless. I saw people doing drugs. I saw people who were induced. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Ripping through, left and right, at the table of the dumpster. And I went out there, and then eventually the cops came, and they were excellent. They didn't throw everybody out right away. They weren't abusive. They came in, they tried to move people on, and I watched the dynamic for the next hour. And I thought, what has happened to these people? These were cute little kids, like you guys, like all of us at one point. So I want to tell you, as we get older, the lessons that you guys are learning from your moms and dads may or may not have been the lessons that they have learned. Maybe those kids were as loved as you are. Maybe they weren't. But it's so easy to go heavy-duty direction in life. But because of our parents, because of a community, hopefully here at St. Cecilia, because of your connection with Jesus, the Good Shepherd, we're the sheep, maybe we can look at the choices that we make as we get older. I felt so bad for these people. It's not an easy life. It was sad. Then when I got up again at 3:30, there was a whole new crew. The whole business of opioid addiction, mental illness, homelessness, all the things that plague our city, equal opportunity offender. But I want to say to you again, what you pass on to your kids and your grandkids as values, your faith, you guys being connected here, not going to solve everything, but it's going to give you something from the inside out so that you guys make the healthy choices in your lives and the right decisions. That's what Jesus was doing with those guys, huh? He was showing them a way to be. You've been prepped and prepared. Most importantly, you guys have been loved. And I want to tell you how happy we are that you're at the table here today. And so, as we continue in the Mass, in this liturgy, I want you to stay connected with Jesus. Anything that ever goes on with you as we're growing up, things inside, you meet people or situations that aren't easy, or you begin to doubt yourself, you go to your moms and your dads, you go to your people around you, but who do you go to first, always, in your mind and in your heart? Go to God, go to Jesus. He's right there. He says it clearly today. I'm the Good Shepherd. I hear the voices of my sheep, and I'll feed you and be with you each step of the way. All right? That was a little dose of reality, but I want to connect our faith and communion with real life so that this really will strengthen us and nurture us, whether we're in second grade or whether we were in second grade a long time ago. All right? So I'm looking forward to you guys coming to the table.